Okay. In today's session, we are going to discuss editorials and also articles related PYQs given in the Hindu and also PIBs, Press Information Bureau. Here, the article is talking about stock taking climate finance, a cases of circles in red ink. What does it mean? There is a negotiation which has been happening for several decades between developed countries and also developing countries. So, these developed countries has to contribute something for the developing countries to make them acclimatized with the changing climate, because of the excessive release of greenhouse gases from the developed countries, which contributed to their industrial growth, which is not witnessed in developing countries. Therefore, these developing countries are in urge to take such a financial help to make them climate resilient, while adapting this industrial development as well. So, they need to tackle this climate change while being listed under developed countries as well. So, to make them listed under developed countries without adapting to the changing climate is very difficult for the developing countries. This is the situation, because you are a fresher, you have to have certain basics also. So, therefore, developed countries have committed to provide at least $100 billion per annum by 2020 under the Kyoto Protocol. So, this commitment was failed several times, and again Copenhagen summit happened under United Nations Framework Convention and various conventions, United Nations Convention on Environment and Development, United Nations Convention on Sustainable Development, which held in 2012 in Rio Earth Summit, that was named as Earth Summit. And there were many summits which were happening. Under these summits also there is called Conference of Parties, which also passes certain rules, regulations and protocols. Okay. Protocol is nothing but a rule or regulation which has to be held, which has to be adhered by the agreed countries. Okay. This is the actual situation which has been happening. You are a fresher, I have given you the brief introduction about between developed countries and also the developing countries, which has been happening for several decades. This United Nations Convention on Environment and Development happened in Brazil in Rio Earth Summit for the first time in 1992. Later, after 20 years in 2012 also a summit on sustainable development held. Okay. And meanwhile, under this Environment Development Summit in 1992, there was also negotiations happened for every year regarding this Conference of Parties, and these Conference of Parties also propounded this Kyoto Protocol. After this Kyoto Protocol came into picture, these developed countries are obliged to provide at least $100 billion of financial support to developing countries, which hasn't been happening. Okay. And later, after this 2012 summit, there were many summits which were held, like Paris Summit, Conference of Parties 21. Okay. Every year this Conference of Parties held, these parties are associated with a convention. Okay. Under this convention also, under Paris Summit, many countries agreed to intend certain determined contributions. What is this determined contribution? Because to reduce the climate change means the increased temperature, which is up to 1.5 degrees Celsius, must be curbed, must be prevented by all the countries by producing themselves certain intended nationally determined contributions, INDC. This is a contribution that should be made from each of the countries to reduce the increasing temperature by 2100. Okay. The reduced temperature is the target is up to 1.5 degrees Celsius to 2 degrees Celsius, and making normalized pre-industrial level. Okay. Pre-industrial level means the industrial revolution took place in 18th century. Pre-industrial level greenhouse gas emission has to be attained by 2100, 2100. Okay. This is the target put forth under this INDC. So, again this INDC is in a state of failure, because many countries are not in a stage to accept these INDC targets. Okay. And changing governments also following certain protectionist policies and radicalized policies, like Trump government, which actually did not adhere to those INDCs which were announced by previous government. Okay. So, there were also changing governments which are actually not following, not adhering to the principles that they have already given under these conventions, under these Conference of Parties also. This is actually the broad framework which has been happening. So, it has mentioned, this article has mentioned clearly 3 areas, that is Copenhagen Summit, that is the Conference of Parties Copenhagen Climate Change Conference, which was held in 2009. And before that there was also an agreement under Kyoto Protocol. These agreements took place, under convention, and sustainable development which was happened in Rio Earth Summit, right. Okay, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. This was a convention. Under these conventions, conference of parties took place, and Kyoto Protocol was mentioned in this article, and Copenhagen Summit in 2009-10 was mentioned in this article. And again, this article also talked about intended nationally determined contribution, which was part of conference of parties in 2015 and 2021, sorry, and 21 conference of parties in 2015. Okay, Paris Summit, it was held in Paris. Every year this summit takes place in different places across the world, okay, in various countries. This is the actual situation which has been happening. However, this Paris agreement is based on self-determined efforts of all the parties, which inscribed in the nationally determined contributions. Okay. This is the actual scenario that I am going to give you the brief introduction about the foundation. Okay. You are a fresher, you do not know the foundation about it, right. So, I think have you got any point about it? Do you have any doubt? You have understood a bit, right. Simply there are conventions under United Nations framework. Okay. These conventions held conference of parties. These conference of parties are being happened across various countries, okay, and various agreements that are named as protocols taken place, and one such agreement was Kyoto Protocol. Under this Kyoto Protocol, developed countries have to contribute at least $100 billion a year for the developing countries. Are you getting my point? Okay. And this is what, why should they contribute? Because the high industrial growth which was witnessed in developed countries not being witnessed in developing countries, right. Okay. Historically, after this 18th century industrial revolution, which was only benefiting, which has been benefiting only the developed countries. There is no such benefit associated with developing countries, which were colonized, subjugated by developed countries in most of the cases. These are third world countries, poverty ridden countries. So, how can they come up if they are in a state of addressing only climate change and only taking the responsibility, but now unable to enjoy the benefits that was actually taken place in developed countries. Okay. So, even developing countries are in a need of development, they need industrial growth, but at the same time they have huge responsibility of changing climate to reduce this temperature, increased temperature, global warming impact, right. Therefore, the developed countries have more responsibility. This is a common responsibility. That means addressing climate change is a common responsibility, but addressing climate change may have differentiated responsibilities. Developed countries may have more responsibility than that of developing countries. Okay. This is the situation. Under this conference of parties, Copenhagen Summit has also announced this $100 billion per year by 2020 has to be met by developed countries, okay, but it has not been met. Okay. And INDC came into picture. This INDC has not been met properly. Under this INDC, you need to meet you need to address the global warming to reduce its global warming potential up to 1.5 degrees Celsius only, if possible. Okay. This is the case which has been happening. Under this conference of parties, now this conference of parties which is going to be held between November 30 and December 2020, this year 2023, November 30 to December 12, this year 2023. The conference of parties number 28. This 28 is going to be held in Dubai. Okay. In this Dubai report, it has been mentioning that Climate Change 2023 synthesis report providing a main scientific input to the global stocktake at conference of parties. Stocktake means simple, the amount of greenhouse gases released in this earth and which are causing this global warming. So, this is a global stocktake, a report, a synthesis of report, how much the greenhouse gas is being released. Okay. This is the case. So, next coming to this MCQ format, various organizations and protocols, conference of parties and the places that they are held, and this unit framework convention. Okay. You need to understand this one. Okay. There are many conventions, and also there is a convention related to biological diversity under this United Nations umbrella only, that is a different convention. Under that convention also you will be having these parties which usually hold certain meetings In those meetings only they will pass protocols, okay, like Nagoya protocol, okay, that is another protocol. So, you need to remember protocols which are negotiated agreements under conference of parties, which are frequent frequent meetings. Conference of parties means the parties which frequently hold certain meetings under a convention. Okay, convention means a assembly of parties, assembly of various countries which are agreed to become party of that convention. Okay. So, now these conventions you have to remember, conference of parties you have to remember, and there are historical conferences which actually propounded various agreements in favor of developing countries, that you have to remember, like Kyoto Protocol, Nagoya Protocol. Okay. And these organizations which are formed especially exclusively for the benefit of developing countries. Okay. This is a green climate fund. It is mandated to invest 50% of its resources to mitigation and 50% to its adaptation in grant equivalent. Mitigation and adaptation. Mitigation is for the purpose of reducing global warming, and adaptation is to adapt yourself to the changing climate. Okay. 50% has to be invested from its fund for the purpose of mitigation, and 50% has to be invested for the purpose of adaptation. This is the actual goal which is coming under green climate fund. This first statement is talking about. Whether it is true or false, you no need to understand it now, because I am giving you the detailed explanation here. And coming to second statement, at least half of its adaptation resources must be invested in the most climate vulnerable countries. Okay. Because developed countries have to focus on what? These vulnerable countries, third world countries. Okay, this is, and it is the world's largest dedicated fund helping developing countries respond to climate change. Okay. This green climate fund, what is this green climate fund? This green climate fund is intended to assist developing countries in adaptation and mitigation practices to counter climate change. Okay. This is the major objective of this green climate fund for what it was formed. Okay. And next one is, it is found, and this was a question in the UPSC civil service examination in 2015. Why have they asked this question in 2015? Because conference of parties 2021. Have you remembered that? Okay, Paris convention, Paris one, okay, conference of party. Okay, it is founded under the aegis of UNEP, no, and OECD, Asian Development Country, no. Actually, it was founded under UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Okay, it was created by UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Next, this is a related previous year question in 2015. That is why I have asked the question related to this green climate fund. So, all the three statements given above are correct. Here the green climate fund is the world's largest dedicated fund helping developing countries to respond climate change, and 50% of its resources should be spent for mitigation and 50% for adaptation, and especially it is helping for the developing countries. It is dedicated fund. Have you got the glimpse of this green climate fund? What is this? Now, it is easy for you to understand various conventions and the major mandate of it, okay, for what purpose they have been formed. Next, coming to this ethics, parliamentary conduct and Indian member of parliament. Ethics, parliamentary conduct and the Indian member of parliament. What has been happening? Here you have remembered a name, Moitra, Mrs. Moitra, okay, Malhotra, I do not know what is the pronunciation of her. So, what has been happening here is, she was alleged to be taken a bribe to ask certain questions in the parliament. A businessman might have bribed her, okay, given some ransom to ask certain questions in favor of a business person. Okay. This was an allegation made against her. So, there was an ethics committee which is under which put certain inquiry against her. So, this ethics committee was formed in 2000. Previously, there was no such ethics committee. Do you know the parliamentary committees? Do you have the basics about it? There are certain permanent standing committees and ad hoc committees. Okay. Permanent standing committees and departmental committees, department related standing committees. Okay. So, for example, Public Accounts Committee, Committee on Public Undertakings, likewise Estimates Committee, and next department related standing committees. which can look after the demand for grants by various ministries. Okay. Each ministry has certain expenses and also receipts, right. So, to bring to withdraw amount from the exchequer, therefore, they need to submit demands for grants. The demand for grants will be actually monitored, checked by these department related standing committees. Okay. So, okay, fine, you need to have certain basics. Kindly go through these various standing committees. Ad hoc committees are interim committees in nature, they are temporary in nature, they specifically appointed for that particular case and later they will be removed. Okay. Next, with respect to standing committees which are permanent in nature, they will keep on going on forever. Okay. So, there are various committees associated with parliamentary members and their privileges and their responsibilities and enquiries against them. Do you think that any parliamentary member who is a legislative member indulged in corrupt practices will be enquired under Evidence Act or enquired by agencies associated with corruption related cases? No, usually that is not the case. Here it is the speaker who will look after such an enquiry against the member of parliament. Okay. There are various committees related to it. For example, the committees mean breach of privilege and contempt of the house. If a parliament member is under such a breach of privilege and contempt of court, if he is alleged under these norms, under these conditions, therefore, there will be a committee. The committee is known as privilege committee, it seems, and sometimes ethics committee, which is formed in 2000. Okay. And this committee is also having certain anomalies, ambiguities. What is that anomaly? Because this committee has not defined what is ethical and what is unethical for a member of parliament. Okay. Usually the ethics deals with the actions of an individual, the conduct of and behavior of an individual. So, what should be the ethical conduct or unethical conduct has to be defined, and what should be the ethics of an individual. Here they have not defined any unethical conduct of a parliamentary member. However, they have taken actions against a parliamentary member under this ethics committee. Like for example, if an MP who brought a woman and who exposed that woman as his own wife, and he roamed around this parliamentary places around this parliament, and later this ethics committee found to be guilty. I mean ethics not ethics committee, this member of parliament found to be guilty under this ethics committee. Okay. So, whether it is morally correct or not, it is quite difficult to understand. So, this member of parliament brought a woman and he exposed that entire parliamentary places to her, and it was considered to be an ethical practice by this ethics committee. Whether it is ethical or not, it is a dilemma, because the ethics was not defined and the rules and conduct was not properly exclusively defined by this ethics committee, listed out. It was not properly listed out. Okay. And one more time, one MP passport under violated a Passport Act. Okay. And he has shown another woman's ID as his wife's ID during his visit to foreign places, and this was witnessed by this ethics committee, and ethics committee declared it is unethical practice and his privilege was misused. Okay. It might be considered unethical, but under what grounds it should be considered unethical? Under what norms it should be considered as it was misconduct or malicious act? Okay. This is quite difficult to understand. So, this is what the ethics committee had certain anomalies and ambiguities, this ethics committee. Now, this ethics committee is dealing with the corrupt practices, the allegations that the Malhotra is facing now, Malhotra or Moitra it seems. Okay. Okay, when it comes to. So, next coming to the question now, here the inference that you need to draw which are relevant to UPSC is important. Here with respect to UPSC, no controversial issue has to be taken, but the issue has to be taken with respect to the parliamentary privileges of member of parliament, and also the rules, conduct, behavior and ethics committee and various committees, standing committees, ad hoc committees likewise. Here coming to this first question, the question related to that article is, the question of the relevance of evidence of a person or a document in parliament is finally decided by the speaker on the basis of Evidence Act. No. Did I give you the explanation? Okay. Does Speaker rely on Evidence Act? No. Okay? No, yes. The inquiry or probe against a member of parliament in the House of the Parliament is not based on the Evidence Act, which is in the case of other bureaucrats. If a bureaucrat is indulged in any corrupt practice, if he is facing such an allegation, what will happen? He will be inquired under Evidence Act and also other acts related to prevention of corruption, okay, by the agencies associated with it, Enforcement Directorate it seems, or any CBI inquiry it may be. Okay. But with respect to the member of parliament which is held in the parliament itself, it should be in the hands of the speaker. Okay. However, it is not related to judicial inquiry. Okay. There should be an expert when it comes to the judicial inquiry, okay, who is pro in that a particular area. So, that was also an allegation which has been happening, whether they are having without any bias or not. This is also a case happening there. Next, coming to according to Constitution of India, members of parliament cannot be taken to court for anything they say or any votes they cast in parliament or its committees. Here this is true under article 105 of the Constitution of India, which is protecting member of parliament according to this Constitution of India, that is article 105. It is providing certain privileges to the member of parliament, that is it cannot be taken to the court for anything they say or any votes they cast in parliament or in its committees. Okay. If I suddenly go against the will of the government, the member of parliament should not be inquired in the court, and his right to speech means not under article 19. This is under article 105 of the Constitution. It is an exclusive right provided to the MPs, member of parliament. So, this second statement is correct one and the first one is incorrect. And next, coming to this UPA NDA related question 1, this a member of parliament enjoys freedom of speech in the parliament as a member parliamentary privilege protected by the Constitution of India under article 105, as I have said just now. That is why we have taken that question as a statement. Next, the Constitution has vested the power to amend the Constitution in the parliament. Definitely under article 368 of Constitution of India, yeah, there is a privilege given to the parliament to amend the Constitution, but there was many contentious issues happened. It was only providing the procedure to amend the Constitution, but not the Constitution itself. That was actually interpretation given by the Supreme Court. However, later basic structure doctrine came into picture, various interpretations came. Okay. This was actually not a radical statement given at that time. This was not exclusively a controversial topic. So, it can be considered as no such only this some kind of extremities. There is no extremity involved in this statement. Therefore, it can be considered as true statement. Okay. While addressing the question also, you need to understand the statement how they have iterated. That is very important. Okay. The statement may not be containing any extremities. It is a possible aspect that it can be considered as true statement. Okay. If any possibility of considering it as a true statement, you no need to leave it. Okay. Irrespective of your 100% knowledge in that statement. Next, coming to the rules of evidence under the Evidence Act are not applicable to probe by parliamentary committee, any committee. These rules of evidence is not applicable to member of parliament when they are under probe, under any committee of the parliament, whether it is privilege committee or any rules of conduct something, and a ethics committee. Okay. Next, the question of the relevance of the evidence of a person or a document is finally decided by whom? Finally decided by the question of relevance of the evidence of a person or a document is finally decided by speaker only and not according to the Evidence Act. Therefore, the first statement should be incorrect here. In the Constitution of India, article 105 states the parliament, there is a freedom of speech as long as it follows the constitution and parliamentary rules. Okay. And next, members of parliament cannot be taken to court for what they say or vote in parliament or its committees, and the same goes for any reports, papers or proceedings published by either house of parliament. Okay. So, I am giving you a thick content, okay, for this entire article orientation is very important. You have to clear prelims in the first attempt itself, isn't it? In the first attempt itself, you have to clear the prelims. How will you clear it? Your preparation should be very accurate to the demand of the exam. Okay. How will you find yourself that your preparation is accurate to the demand of the exam? How will you find yourself? Your preparation is accurate to the demand of the exam. How will you find yourself? Based on the syllabus and PYQs. There are 40 to 50 articles every day in one newspaper. How will you find which is relevant for the UPSC examination? Yes, based on syllabus and PYQs. How will you find yourself? Is it easy for you to find? Will it waste your valuable time? Definitely it will waste your valuable time. Therefore, certain particular mentor who has certain experience will find various articles which are relevant for UPSC and they will give it to you. You have to read those articles and try to attempt MCQs on the lines of UPSC, which are set on the lines of UPSC. Second. And next, go through the PYQs associated with that article. And next, you will get your mind alignment on the lines of UPSC exactly. Therefore, your mindset is accurate to the demand of the examination. That is what required, right? So, unnecessarily do not waste your valuable time for various things. How it just make yourself blank without any mentor, without picking up such articles, such an article. How will you find yourself? How will you make yourself accurate and to the point preparation? Okay? That is why it is quite difficult in the initial stage. When you habituate yourself for a month, at least for a month you have to do a sadhana. For a month, if you do such a sadhana for a month, it is quite easy for you to crack this exam. It will be definitely easy for you. Okay? So, you please go through these documents and we will post these answers also in our Telegram channel KPIAS Delhi. Okay? Next coming to. So, these are the privileges given to the members of the parliament. If a parliament say any word go against the report or publish any report, that should not be inquired in a court of law. Okay? That is the privilege. And powers, privilege, immunities of each house of parliament, its members, committees will be defined by law passed by parliament. It is only the law passed by parliament, not the Evidence Act related one, right. It is with respect to the members of parliament, the law will be passed by only parliament and ultimately it will be decided by speaker. Here, until then they follow the rules of the House of the Commons in the, until then they will follow the conventions which were put forth by the United Kingdom. Next, the same rules in clause 1, 2, 3 apply to individuals who have the right to speak in or participate in parliamentary proceedings. These are not much important, okay. Just you need to understand the basics of it. Next, stance of the Maldives president elect on India. Okay, what is happening here? Here, Abdul Amin government till 2016 it seems, 16 and 18, 2013 to 18 it seems, during his term from 2013 to 18 Abdul Amin, who was inclined towards China. Okay, Maldives was part of Indian Ocean, one such sovereign country, and China when had its stakes in Maldives, and therefore there was huge opposition, and immediately the India backed, it was seemed to be India backed, however it was not India's backing up. Okay, the Oli's government came into picture in 2018. Okay, it was considered to be inclined towards India, the Oli's government after 2018. So, the Amin government was dethroned, and later there was a controversy which was taking place when India supported its military. It has given 3 helicopters and 75 Indian military personnel, and defense forces of Maldives have been utilizing them, and immediately this Abdul Amin led government, and recently this Muizz, M-U-I-Z-Z-U, Muizz government, who is going to be the president now. This opposition party fought against the support taken by India. Okay. The Oli's government facing certain criticism from the Muizz government, the present government, okay, which was actually an opposition party, recently came into power. The results were announced. Okay, Muizz government is going to be hold its power right. So, this Muizz government has opposed the stance taken by the Oli's government, which was inclined towards the policies of India and taking support from India's military and economic strength. This is the situation, right? And there is a narrative already built across various countries around this Maldives that it is a plebiscite between China and India in the Maldives rather than an election happening between the existing government and the opposition. Okay. So, there are the changing governments which are inclined towards China and India respectively for last 1 decade happening in the Maldives. Okay. Yemen government which was inclined towards China and dethroned in 2018 and Woli government came into picture. In 2023 again the Yemen led Muiz government, that is the president who is going to be Muiz supported by Yemen, is coming into the power, and he is frequently saying that he is pledging to remove Indian military presence from Maldives, from this archipelago. It means group of islands. Okay, fine. This is what happening there. So, what is the reason behind it? What are its India's interests? So, there is also a contentious issue happening between these parties, and the government and the people of the Maldives wanted themselves to be sovereign. They do not want any foreign interference into their archipelago. That is what the intention happening. Therefore, this Muiz government is also telling that no, we are not going to incline towards China, neither China nor India. Okay. We are only inclined towards the people of the Maldives. That is the statement given by the present existing president who is elected recently, Muiz. However, Maldives has been suffering certain setbacks, economic setbacks. It had gone under debt crisis. It had gone under debt crisis and it has to pay back around $1.07 billion of external debt, which it had taken mostly from China and India. That is also one such case. Therefore, no government which is coming into power should not go against completely India or China. This is the analysis which is taken place in this article. Next, what is India's stance? India's stance is very clear. The National Security Advisor Ajit Doval has told that India has put its finger, India printed its establishment in the archipelago to secure its position in the Indonesian region and to curb China's practices, any anti-India practices, right. This is what the statement reiterated by National Security Advisor. This is actually. So, here clearly it is deeply intertwined because India, Maldives, Sri Lanka, three have entered into a conclave, that is Colombo conclave, and recently later Mauritius also joined. And it is an intertwined relationship. So, in this entire archipelago, India has to secure its position. There should not be any kind of conflict with the China and no such kind of sovereign authority of India above these archipelago countries. Okay. No such sovereign authority being shown by the India. It is only to secure its position and safeguard Indian Ocean and to make it much open and free for various states. Okay. So, to curb the Chinese dominance, India has entered into such relationship with these archipelago countries. And coming to this one, consider the following statement: Sri Lanka, India, Maldives, Mauritius. How many of the countries listed above are part of this Colombo Security Conclave? Colombo Security Conclave initially was started by Sri Lanka, India and Maldives. It was a tripartite one, and later Mauritius was joined. Okay. And coming to this CDS question 21, there was a question related to Quad group. I think quadrilateral group, you know, this Japan, Australia, India and USA. These four countries are part of this Quad. Okay. No France was involved in it. You need to remember bilateral groups, multilateral groups, formal groups, informal groups, and also international organizations and their establishment and their mandate, objectives and their functioning. These things you have to remember. Just read it once, no problem at all. It is not a quite difficult task. Just go through the articles which are frequently coming in the newspaper, that is more than enough. Here Colombo Security Conclave, that is important, conclave, and associated PYQ, Quad group was asked because Quad was several times in the news and G20 is several times in the news this year. Okay. Next, Colombo Security Conclave was formed in 2011 as a trilateral maritime security grouping of India, Sri Lanka and Maldives. and the roadmap activities was later expanded with Mauritius joining as the 4th member. Next, coming to this one, observer states are Bangladesh and Seychelles. In the Pegasus battle, the fight for surveillance reform. Pegasus battle, the fight for surveillance reform. What is happening here? Here Pegasus is considered to be a spyware. Suppose if you get any call from an anonymous person or any message, if you open it, a software will be installed and your data will be theft and entire information will be gone to third person. So, this is a spyware and which is used by government authorities against various individuals. Therefore, a concern being arisen regarding right to privacy. Okay. So, government is presently alleged about this Pegasus incident. This is a spyware software which is bought from Israel, and this Pegasus is used against various journalists, opposition parties, and including very few bureaucrats and judges. Okay. This is an allegation which has taken place, and therefore, a case was filed, and judicial response was not quite satisfied by this article. Author is saying that the judicial response has formed a technical committee to look after this case of Pegasus, whether it has been taken place, and also it has said that technical committee to take response from the citizens also regarding this, means whether such a reform has to be taken or not, surveillance has to be put forth against these individuals or not, for to secure the citizens of this country. Such kind of Pegasus, what do you call, surveillance reformation response was given by judiciary when it has formed this technical committee. The technical committee was formed by judiciary when a case was filed against the government that there are many technical agencies, private agencies, which are alleging against the government of India that it has used this Pegasus spyware against us. There are 300 individuals who were becoming victims of this Pegasus and used by government authorities. This is the case actually happening. Okay? But the judiciary has responded by forming a technical committee, and this technical committee is collecting opinion of individuals from various citizens of this country and experts, whether such a reform has to be brought or not, whether surveillance has to be put forth or not, because previously there were certain there were cases of surveillance put forth under various acts by the government of India. These acts are mentioned here, it seems here with respect to what do you call, there are acts related to National Investigation Agency, okay, under this Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Okay, there were many acts which were actually inquiring the individual private information when they are coming under anti-social and anti-national activities. Okay? If they come under this umbrella, and the surveillance will be put against them. This is the case happening, and no accountability has been seen from the authorities of the government. This is actually an allegation made by the author, because in the USA and when in Israel also, when such an incident took place, the government have made themselves accountable and they formed an inquiry committee immediately, and the result was coming out as early as possible in those countries. But in the case of India, it is still after 2 years, no such result has come into forth. Okay? So, which cyber security threat or tool is associated with the Pegasus and NetWire malware, and why have they garnered significant attention in recent times? What is the reason? Surveillance and unauthorized access to personal devices. Surveillance and unauthorized access to personal devices. This is what, which cyber security threat or tool is associated with the Pegasus and NetWire malware. See, WannaCry, Petya, Eternal Brew, these are given by UPSC in civil service examination in 2018, when they have come in the newspaper several times. And the WannaCry was asked by, this is a North Korea related spyware, it seems. At the time, it had attacked several servers of our country and private and government servers also. WannaCry, which had come into the newspaper several times. Therefore, UPSC has asked in 2018 that question. We have framed such a question related to Pegasus Netwire. This is a surveillance and unauthorized access to private devices, personal devices of individuals. Have you got my point? What I have been telling? Okay. Next, Yemen's Houthis claim drone attack on Israel. Actually, who are these Houthis? Houthis, they are ethnic tribes of Yemen. Okay. Do you know Yemen, a country which is located exactly in the midst of Persian Gulf or not? Persian Gulf. Is it true? Near to Persian. No, actually, please go through them. Yemen, Oman, okay. Yemen, see, please go through those countries also. It is actually part of peninsular part of Saudi Arabia. However, it is not part of Persian Gulf. Please remember it. Kuwait, Qatar, Iran, Iraq, these are adjacent to this Persian Gulf. Okay. Please go through the map. However, you need to remember the ethnic violence that has been taken place in various countries, especially in the Central Asian, Western Asian part, because UPSC has asked several questions out of it. Here, with respect to this Yemen's Houthis claim drone attack on Israel, Houthis are ethnic tribes of Yemen who are indulged in various civil war crimes, okay, and they have fought against the incumbent government of the Yemen. And India has also announced an evacuation camp in the Yemen, not only evacuated Indians, but also other foreign nationals when Houthis announced a civil war against the existing government and created such kind of massacre in that region. And these Houthis are claiming a drone attack on Israel, okay, and they are actually fighting on behalf of Palestinians. And this Gaza issue, I think you might have gone through these issues, right? Hamas, one such militant organization fighting against the Israel. This is a terrorist organization which is placed in Gaza, and recently this Gaza has been occupied by, and such several settlements and occupation has been taken place by Israel because of the threat which is emanating from the Gaza Strip, because it is placing the Hamas militant group against the Israelis, okay. And also a West Bank, one more such place where Palestinians are living, and you need to remember the locations of the West Bank, Gaza. And one more thing, Hezbollah, one such militant group and organization fighting against the Israel, which is placed in Lebanon, okay. So, please go through those one. And Houthis had been suspected of an attack earlier this month targeting Israel by sending missiles and drones over the crucial shipping lane of the Red Sea, over the crucial shipping lane of the Red Sea. Have you gone through it? Is it adjacent to Red Sea or Persian Gulf? It is going crucial shipping lanes, through crucial shipping lanes of Red Sea. It has initiated an attack against Israel. So, what does it mean? It is adjacent to bordering Red Sea. Please go through the map. Once again I am telling you, reiterating. Next, coming to this one, the question, Houthis, also known as Ansar Allah, are a political and military group based in Yemen. Okay, who are Houthis? Who have been recently in news related to? Here Houthi, a political and military group in Yemen. Okay, why have we asked this question? In 2023, they have asked various questions related to those conflict zones. Here with respect to Somalia, which has faced various food shortages and civil strife, and civil strife also occurred in Yemen because of the Houthis which announced such a war, and they have been prominently featured in international news due to their involvement in Yemeni civil war and their conflict with the Yemeni government, and a coalition of Arab states, which are fighting against these people. So, led by Saudi Arabia. And next, the conflict in Yemen has had significant humanitarian consequences, has drawn attention of international community, making the Houthis a key player in recent news related to Middle East and geopolitical issues. I have told you that geopolitical issues and the military strife and civil strife happening across West Asian and Central Asian countries. Okay. Next, here is Ravichandran, Secretary to Ministry of Earth Science. Okay. Ministry of Earth Science, who is a secretary, that is Ravichandran, talking about deep ocean mission. Deep ocean mission. Why do we need such a deep ocean mission? What is meant by deep ocean mission? Exploration of rare earth metals, manganese nodules, polymetallic nodules above the sea surface, that is deep seabed. Okay? This is called deep ocean mission, and it has a flagship initiative named as Samudrayan. Crew members were actually testified by this Samudrayan flagship initiative under this deep ocean mission. Okay? So, what is this crew exploration? The crew members who are going to the deep seabed and exploring various manganese polymetallic nodules, which are rare earth metals in nature, and the possibility of exploration, and if possible they have to explore and mine, and definitely they have to make it forward and upward. Okay? They have to bring it back to the surface of the waters. So, what are the challenges associated with it? Here there are challenges talking about this deep ocean mission. What is this deep ocean mission? What are its objectives? You need to learn these things, very important, because the secretary to the Ministry of Earth Science is talking about those features regarding deep ocean mission. I have talked about Samudrayan, and one more thing you have to remember that Matsya. Matsya 6, what is that? Matsya 6000. Matsya 6000. Please tell us. You need to remember Samudrayan, Matsya 6000. So, we will be learning these things. What is the 6000? 6000 denotes 6000 meters depth of water that they have the opportunity to explore the seabed. See, these polymetallic nodules are in a depth of 3000 meters, and manganese nodules are in a depth of 5000 meters around, and between 3000 meters to 5000 meters you have an opportunity to explore the seabed resources. Okay? And 6000 meters is a leverage given to the India by International Seabed Authority. There are certain authorities which can give you claim of various resources across various places of this earth, and International Seabed Authority, one such organization which is formed out of to reduce the conflict among the exploration areas, okay? Especially in the deep sea exploration. If suppose suddenly Sri Lanka has come into picture that I have every right to explore entire Indian Ocean, what will happen? To reduce such a conflict, various countries were demarcated with the territorial boundaries and also the water exclusive rights given to the exploration. Okay? So, the boundary is named like exclusive economic zone, 200 nautical miles from the boundary of a state, okay, territorial boundary of a state. Between these 200 nautical miles from the boundary of a state, I mean the territorial boundary to 200 nautical miles, a country has right to explore the mineral resources from the sea waters. Okay. Meanwhile, the passage rights for other countries to go through, like free flow or free movement of for the trade, can also be taken place. No country can claim ultimate rights over those exclusive economic zone, and this demarcation and the rights to explore and mine have to be negotiated and discussed under one umbrella organization named as International Seabed Authority. This authority was formed as United Nations Conventional Law of the Seas. United Nations Conventional Law of the Seas. There should be international laws. Without law, it is very difficult to administer the exploration process under this seabed authority, right. So, therefore, under United Nations Conventional Law of the Sea, there is an authority which had given opportunity to country India to explore mineral resources in the seabed of the Indian Ocean part. Okay. In the Indian Ocean, we have rare earth metals. Why these are very important for the economy of a country? Because they can be useful for manufacturing semiconductor chips, and they can be used in space, and other utilities are associated with even renewable energy sector. Okay. This is what they have been talking about. In this deep ocean mission, I have talked about Gaganyaan, means Samudrayan mission. This is crew membership mission, Samudrayan. Okay. Mean there are people who can go deeper into the oceans, What are the actual distinguishing challenges between the upper atmospheric exploration and the deep seabed exploration? This is very important, that are told by this secretary. The major challenge is more in this deep water exploration than that of the upper atmospheric exploration. What is the challenge here? When you are going deeper, you will be witnessing lot of pressure above you. So, the pressure will be increased. And the second aspect is, here the pressure will be around, for 1 meter square kilometer, if you have traveled deeper into the ocean, you will be seeing around 10,000 kg of weight. Okay? An object which is having 1 square meter of some length or width something. Okay? 1 square meter object which is going deeper will witness 10,000 kg of weight. It may carry 10,000 kg of weight. Such kind of pressure will be there above this object. So, operating under such high pressure requires the use of meticulously designed equipment, and the designed equipment, the instruments will be easier to operate, in the upper atmospheric exploration, but it is quite difficult to operate in the deep waters, because there may be a possibility of corrosion. Okay? Corrosion there is. So, rust corrosion issues will be taken place, and also the light which is having a penetration level of only up to the depth of 100 meters, it seems, or 200 meters, and later you will not be seeing any penetration of sunlight to the deep waters. In the case of upper atmospheric exploration, you will be having the help of telescopes. Okay? Such situation may also be taken place, and at the same time the seabed, which is having a lot of dust particles and the sand particles, and it is not as strong as you see and the witness in the upper atmospheric place, like a rover which is roving above the surface of this Chandrayaan something. It is very tough and hard surface. It is quite easy to land any object which is overweight. Okay? It cannot be digger deeper, it cannot be dug deeper into that surface. But when the object is overweight and the seabed may not hold that object over that surface, and it may be digged deeper into it, it is quite difficult for an object to use over that seabed lane for such an exploration activity. This is also one such challenge. Have you got the challenges associated with upper atmospheric exploration and also deep seabed exploration? Okay. Next, consider the following. To provide, what are the objectives associated with deep ocean mission? I have told you what should be the inference that you need to bring from the given article. Deep ocean mission, you need to understand the features and the objectives. Here, to provide clean drinking water, to develop renewable energy generation technique, to provide ocean climate change advisory services. These all are statements listed above are objectives of deep ocean mission. Okay. Here deep Java Trench, here the question in this article also mentioned about Mariana Trench, which is a deepest part of this earth. Mariana Trench. Why haven't you gone towards Mariana Trench only up to 6,000 meters? That was the question asked by this journalist to our secretary. The secretary told that we have only the exploration chance up to 3,000 to 5,000 meters because of the manganese and polymetallic nodules are available within that sphere of zone, right. There is no point of going much deeper into it, and still we have got 1,000 meters more chance to go deeper, right. That is what, only up to 5,000 meters the manganese nodules, rare earth metals are available, still you got 1,000 meters above. Okay. To address issues arising from long term changes in the ocean due to climate change, this is also deep oceanic mission feature, and the second feature is to develop technologies for deep sea mission of living and non living resources, to develop underwater vehicles and underwater robotics. This is also important, please directly mug up the features and the objectives of this deep oceanic mission. Okay. and next to provide ocean climate change advisory services, and next sustainable utilization of marine resources, to develop offshore based desalination techniques, to develop renewable energy generation techniques, to provide clean drinking water and explore the avenues of desalination of water as well as extracting minerals from the ocean belt. These are the objectives. Next, workshop on Indian African Union collaboration to be held tomorrow, because there is a thematic workshop taken place between India and African Union. What is this thematic here? Renewable energy is one such theme, digital public infrastructure is one such theme, and sustainable development goals, trade, these are the themes. There are 10 themes which are addressed by India and African Union. Each theme is nothing but a particular area of interest for these countries. The area of interest is with respect to digital public infrastructure. Area of interest is associated with trade and sustainable development. These are area of women led development is one such area of interest. These are thematic workshops. Thematic workshops are being held between two countries. I mean, not a country, African Union is not a country, it is a group of countries. Okay. India and African Union. Initially till 2002 it was named as African Unity, Organization for African Unity. Later it was formed as African Union after 2002, and therefore it is an intergovernmental organization established in the year 2002 with respect to African Union, and its headquarters is in Addis Ababa and permanent member of G20. Recently India has invited this African Union to be part of G20. Okay. This G20 became G21 because African Union also added to it, and European Union is part of this G20. That is also very important, that you might have known, not only individual countries but also group of intergovernmental nations, organizations becoming part of this G20 and coming under one umbrella unit named as one unit only. Okay. 19 countries plus one union, that is European Union, named as G20. Now, African Union is invited to be part of this G20 by the Prime Minister of India, therefore, it became G21 now. Okay. There was a previous year question in UPSC Civil Service examination in 99 related to European Union. There may be a possible question regarding African Union. As I have told, in September 23, 18th G20 summit, Government of India, especially the Prime Minister Narendra Modi, announced that African Union had been granted permanent membership in this G20 and it became 21st member of it. Next, African Union formally till 2002, when it was established in 1963, till 2002 African Union was formally named as Organization of African Unity. An intergovernmental organization established in 2002 promote unity and solidarity of African states to spur economic development and to promote international cooperation. This headquarters is located in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia's capital city. Next, green and berit, its ammonia means green hydrogen start, GH start. What does it mean? See, you need to learn only two concepts here, green ammonia and green hydrogen. What does it mean? Just in the form of MCQ, it is easy to understand. Here consider the following: efficient hydrogen transport, storage, what it is with respect to applications of green ammonia, decarbonization of maritime sector and using agricultural fertilizers. These all are applications of green ammonia. That is why we have to promote this green ammonia. Why have we chosen such question? Because it can be used directly with respect to green hydrogen. There was a question. Here the article is talking about green hydrogen too, not only green ammonia, and this green hydrogen was asked in UPSC in 2023, and how it can be used as internal combustion and power generation. It can be used in hydrogen fuel cells also, and there was a question related to fuel cells in the UPSC itself in 2018 itself. Okay? Please remember these things. And what is this efficient hydrogen transport and storage, which is one such application of green ammonia. Green ammonia will transport this hydrogen much efficiently without any loss. Okay. Ammonia usually used in manufacturing fertilizers. but this green ammonia is being considered as means for efficient hydrogen transport and storage. Ammonia has the advantage of being a high density carrier of hydrogen, and hydrogen, which is a clean efficient energy source, can be difficult to store and transport effectively in normal circumstances. Hydrogen is very clean and efficient, but it is quite difficult to store and transport it in normal circumstances. Therefore, what is the help that you have to take in here? You have to take here ammonia, which can absorb this hydrogen, and release hydrogen under controlled circumstances. Okay. You can use this green ammonia. What is this? Ammonia simply. This ammonia can absorb hydrogen and release hydrogen. Whenever you require it, you can release it from ammonia. Whenever you require it, can absorb it. Okay. This ammonia can absorb and release hydrogen under controlled conditions, making it a practical way to transport hydrogen from one location to another. Therefore, this has significant implication in this energy sector to make it efficient in transportation and storage when it comes to clean hydrogen. Okay. Next one, decarbonization of maritime sector. Green ammonia is also being explored as a potential solution for the decarbonization of this maritime sector, because it can be used in the shipping, especially large cargo vessels traditionally release on fossil fuels. Usually fossil fuels means what? The petrol, diesel, which has huge potential to release this greenhouse gas. Okay. Therefore, this green ammonia, which can use this efficient hydrogen transportation, which can be used. Therefore, this huge vessels, cargo vessels can be transported. Therefore, decarbonization of this maritime sector can also be taken place. Instead of using these fossil fuels, you can use green ammonia, and which can help you to transport and store this fuel that is named as hydrogen as well. Therefore, decarbonization of maritime sector is also possible. Next, use in agriculture fertilizers. Definitely green ammonia produced using renewable energy sources and without carbon emission can potentially be used in sustainable environment friendly fertilizers. Okay. So, this is what about green ammonia related question. And final question that we are coming back here, to tap FPIs, government plans to gift wrap masala bond issue. I think masala bond was asked by UPSC in civil services examination 2016. You please go through this masala bond and please go through this question also. This is one such homework given to you. Already this has become cumbersome for you today. I have taken one intensive marathon session for 1 hour. It appears to be only 10 questions, but I have also discussed PYQs associated with it and the entire article and the issues. Okay. And you need to go through these prelims related, not only the prelims related questions, but also the mains questions are taken out of these given articles. Okay. And this document will be posted in our Telegram channel KPIAS Delhi. Please go through these articles. If you are thorough with these questions and answers for 1 year, at least 6 months prior to your preliminary examination, it is easy for you to crack at least 80 plus marks. Okay. So, your confidence will be enhanced. Okay. Right. All the best.